Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and today I'm coming to you with a Disney tag game, Disney movie tag game, featuring 10 questions. Originally there were 9, but I added a 10th of my own to basically try to expand this. And, I wasn't actually tagged by anyone to answer these questions, but because I am a lifelong Disney movie fan, I really took interest in wanting to answer them. And as I say, I came up with my own 10th question, and I'm kind of hoping to see what other people's answers might be to these 10 questions. So I'm going to go ahead and answer them in this video, and then of course I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below if you're able to post, or as a follow-up video that you could send me in the personal message bin telling me your answers to these questions. You can find the questions posted below in the description, and so let's get started. Question 1 is, describe a scene from any Disney movie that you wish you could experience. And for me, I'd have to say any of the happily ever after movie endings, happy endings, that kind of thing. I would love to actually experience that for once, where it's a lifelong happy ending kind of, situation, where there's no more strife and no more trouble. But of course, this is the real world, so there's not much go for that. I'd probably say, in follow-up to that, finding a genie's lamp a la the movie Aladdin and getting 3 wishes. I'd probably want to try to let the genie free, as Aladdin does honorably in that film. With the third one, it would depend on how things go with the first 2, of course. And or the fairy dust from Peter Pan, as it would be awesome to be able to fly around, even the magic carpet ride from Aladdin. Flying around like Superman, like Peter Pan, and all of those kids from, of course, that movie. It would be great to be able to have a sense of flight, and hopefully without the danger of crashing to your death and doom and all of that stuff. That's a lifelong dream, to be able to fly like Superman and stuff like that. So question 2 is, what is an unforgettable experience or moment you've had at any one of the Disney parks? For me, I'd have to say eating in the Magic Kingdom for the very first time, and what I mean by that is the actual castle in the Magic Kingdom in Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida. They have a floor that's an entire restaurant, and I never knew that at that point, and so eating within this, it was very cool. As well as the MGM, what is now Hollywood Studios Park. There was this great little restaurant that was all about 1950s and 60s TV, and there were TVs all over the place. I don't remember the name of the restaurant in particular, but they showed a lot of old, sort of Nick at Night clips of, Dick Van Dyke Show and Car 54, Where Are You?, Alfred Hitchcock Presents, all these old classic TV shows, I Love Lucy, and it was very much like a 50s diner, but also segments of it were like 50s home kitchens and everything, and it just had a really awesome vibe. Other great memories I have is the first time I ever went on Big Thunder Mountain Railroad with my sister. I'm not a roller coaster fan, so it took a lot of effort to get me on that. I had been to Disney at least maybe half a dozen times before finally going on that ride, and when I did, I couldn't get enough of it. I think I went on 3-4 times in a row. And then finally, I'd probably say memorable moments involve my cousin and my sister and I, who went to Magic Kingdom with my grandparents, and we kind of split off from them for a little while, and we not only went on Splash Mountain, which was very newly built at the time that we went. It was sort of early mid-90s, I think, or maybe mid to late 90s, which was an absolute riot because we started yelling at the crowd when we were down at the bottom of the very last flume, and we're soaking wet. Oh, what a great shower and everything. We had people cracking up at all the noise we were making. But then I think a little before that, we went on the People Mover. For anyone who's familiar with the Magic Kingdom Park, this is the slowest ride you can get on, apart from the little race cars, ironically. And we actually, because it wasn't a very popular ride, you get to sort of see the inner workings of some of the other rides and some of the other areas of the Magic Kingdom, especially their sciences department, all that kind of thing. Because it was not popular, my cousin, my sister, and I got to stay on this ride consecutively half a dozen times. We never had to get off it. We would just come around again. The guy, it was the same guy letting people on, and we'd be like, can we just go on again? And after a while, he was just like, go ahead, And we stayed on this ride for maybe a full hour and a half, and just kicking back and relaxing in the dead center of the Magic Kingdom Park. So question number 3 is, what non-Disney music reminds you or brings back memories of Disney and or Disney parks? And because largely in my sort of teens, it was the 90s that I really remembered going very vividly to these parks, I'd have to say songs like What Is Love by Haddaway, Where Do You Go by No Mercy, sort of poppy, dance hall kind of music and stuff like that was big at the time, club hopping music and stuff, because those songs inspired the same kind of vibe, the excitement I had getting away from home, going to these fun Disney parks and stuff like that. I was never really satisfied by going to the local sort of fairs and everything like that. It was Disney, Universal Studios, or bust for me. And it just always ingrained in me this level of excitement that I can never... I don't know. There's nothing else like it in the world, going to one of those parks. You actually do feel the magic. Of course, now, I was a kid at the time, and I wasn't spending my money, so if I went there as an adult, I'd probably be taking into account all of that money that I'd be losing to do that, to experience that. But, yeah, that's about as close as I can come to answering that question. Question number 4 is, what was the first time you went to a Disney park? Or rather, when was? And for me, that would have to be when I was a small child, almost still an infant. I have no recollection of it, but I've seen pictures of me in a little stroller, still wearing diapers and everything, and at one point bawling my eyes out, screaming, crying, things like that. And it's fascinating to me to see these pictures because I just have no memory of it whatsoever. I really only remember those times when I went in my teens, and it was just... the most fun in the world to be able to go to those parks. So, question number 5 is, if you could choose any Disney characters to be your best friend, who would you choose? And hands down, I'd say Aladdin first, probably Belle from Beauty and the Beast, Ariel from The Little Mermaid, Winnie the Pooh, Mickey, Pluto, and yes, Goofy. Goofy has always been one of my longtime favorite characters. He, for me, embodies sort of the same kind of comedy that the Three Stooges do, or Laurel and Hardy, slapsticky kind of stuff, Charlie Chaplin-esque. And, he's about the closest Disney cartoons ever got to the sort of humor that was depicted in, like, Warner Brothers cartoons. And, so yeah, I mean, those would be my top choices for someone to befriend, Maybe even the baddest fairy of them all, Tinkerbell. She was always a really cool, kick-ass little fairy in the Peter Pan film, and I always thought she was really cool and fun, so it would also give me that fairy dust, as I mentioned in a previous answer. So, yeah, question number 6 is, who are your favorite Disney princesses? And hands down, I'd have to say my first and foremost would be Aurora, Sleeping Beauty herself, because that is my favorite of the Disney princess films. Just artistically speaking, it is absolutely elegantly beautiful from beginning to end. Probably second to that, I'd say Belle, because I am particularly attracted to an intelligent, sort of reader, geeky kind of girl, and she was definitely that. Ariel, probably because she had to leave a world behind to gain the things she wanted, and that's kind of something we all face in life. And I could kind of relate to that, which I think we all could. Jasmine, of course, from Aladdin, because what I liked about her character in that particular movie was she showed no fear once she knew what was going on in the story, once she knew sort of the, evil that Jafar was capable of. She actually used that against him in a very sort of creative way, using her womanly gifts. And that's something you never really saw before in a Disney movie. Of course, as a kid, you're not really appreciating what's going on in that particular scene, but she definitely turned the tables on Jafar and helped Aladdin, whereas you don't always see that with all Disney princesses, that they are that, forthgoing and integral to besting the baddie of the film. And I'd probably throw in, just for like a top 5, Alice from Alice in Wonderland, just because that movie is trippy as hell, and any girl who can, have a straight face and go back to her normal life after all of that, well, that's a go-getter in my book. So, question number 7 is, name a scene or moment in any Disney movie that never fails to make you cry. I really can't sit through it anymore, but I'd have to say, first and foremost, when Old Yeller is shot at the end of that movie, spoiler alert, that really killed me as a kid. I've unfortunately had to live through many losses, pets-wise, dogs, cats, hamsters, fish, turtles, a whole bunch of different things, and a parrot in one case, and I hate that. I hate seeing animals suffering or, losing their lives. I'd probably say, sort of similarly veined, when Simba witnesses his father die in The Lion King. This movie came out the same year that my sister and I lost our dad, and, he was a very important person in our lives, our dad, so it was something we could relate to heavily, and still even to this day, many years later, it's something that still hits home because it was very closely related to when we lost our dad. Question number 8 is, what is the first Disney movie you remember seeing? I grew up with Disney movies all through my life, but I'd be hard-pressed to pick the earliest possible memory. I think the earliest one that I would actually have is maybe having seen Fantasia in the theater during like a re-release in maybe the mid-'80s or something like that. But definitely the most impactful came later on in life in my teens with Aladdin. Will never forget going to the theater and seeing that, busting a gut laughing, being wowed by the music and the action and the adventure, and just falling in love with that movie, which segues into question number 9. What is your favorite Disney movie? Hands down, Aladdin, naturally. There will never be any sort of ifs, ands, or buts or replacements for that. Some top contenders, non-animated wise, I'd love to throw in there Dick Tracy and Who Framed Roger Rabbit. You rarely hear people talking about these movies when discussing Disney movies and stuff like that, but I think these are two brilliant films, and definitely two of my top favorites, where one is wholly live action, of course, but the other marries live action with animation, and no better has anyone ever attempted this and succeeded. So yeah, that would definitely be how I'd answer that question. And finally, the 10th question, which was one that I added for this particular tag questionnaire, is, what is the most frightening and or awesome Disney villain to you? Frightening has to be, hands down, the Queen from Snow White, especially when she turns into the Wicked Witch, who, sort of suckers Snow White into eating the poison apple, and the way she meets her doom is kind of fitting in a Lord of the Rings-y kind of way, and, it's just, she is horrifying. She makes herself grotesquely ugly and, basically plays at Snow White's compassions and concerns and cares and everything like that, her caring nature and compassionate nature, and very much exploits it. And she's doing it ruthlessly to try to kill, her own sort of stepdaughter. So definitely the most frightening. Most awesome, I'd have to say, and the reason I added this is just because I can't praise this particular villainess enough, Maleficent. She is awesome, from her physical appearance, the way they crafted the look of Maleficent in Sleeping Beauty, but also the magic she wields and the way she does so with the spinning wheel and everything like that, so that Sleeping Beauty Aurora would have to prick her finger for the magic to work and all this stuff, putting her into that sort of sleeping death and everything like that. And then, of course, once the prince comes a-calling, she turns into this giant badass dragon with the green flames and all the briar bushes and everything like that. Just absolutely phenomenal and all-time memorable for Disney villain. I'd also have to say, runners-up are Jafar and Chernabog from Fantasia. He was kind of like the devil of the mountains. So very memorable and iconic images and characters they have there. And even, I don't remember his name, but that sort of religious zealot from Hunchback of Notre Dame. And yeah, otherwise, that's pretty much the 10 questions answered in the bundle. And I'd love to hear from you guys, as I say, in the comments below or as a video response. I know they don't have that anymore, but you could always send me a video that you make answering the question, tagging yourself to the 10-question questionnaire, what your answers to these questions might be. You can always post in the comments below, as I say, but bear in mind that long comments, unfortunately, are getting cut off for us mobile users who can't post or answer them, so I won't be able to read long ones. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed the video and that it finds you well, and I'll catch you later. Peace.